heart of Pulaski County.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert DeBen. I'm the president of the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association, as well as Natural State Medicinals Cultivation.
Hello, my name is Sandy Yanius. I am the Director of Education at Plant Family Dispensary in Mountain Home.
I'm Jared McFarling, General Manager at Custom Cannabis and Director of Cultivation and former vet technician.
Hi, I'm David Berman. I'm the Dispensary Manager at Natural Relief in Sherwood.
Hi, I'm Dina Rhodes, and have you seen the beautiful glass case with all the products? That's us.
Oh, the chocolate fountain. I think they had a little cooling problem with the chocolate fountain, unfortunately. It was still good, though. It was still good. Well, guys, medical cannabis and questions we all want answers to. Oh, that's an extensive list of things right here. Let's start with the ones that they gave me. And they asked, what's the difference between CBD and THC? What balance between the two should you look for in a strain? And for our dispensary people, why is the highest THC important? Good one for you.
So a lot of people are misinformed about highest THC. They kind of see it as alcohol, like the highest proof is going to be the best bang for their buck, when in fact terpene profiles are going to be the best determining factor on how a strain affects your body and how well that strain is going to treat whatever specific condition that you may have. Myrcene profiles, if you want something more uplifting, phenol. So it's all about finding the terpene balance that's best for you, and those will give you more effect than a strain that has 27 to 30% THC. So I've had to tell quite a few patients multiple times that, okay, I can give you this 28% THC strain. It's got a decent terpene profile and it's got high THC, but there's this 14% black ice, name drop NSM, that will knock you out more than that 28% THC. It's because that unique terpene profile is going to have more of effect on your body than just a super high THC content.
And yeah, so I was just passing over here. Natural Relief's view on.
Hey everybody. So I want to answer the first part of that question about the difference between CBD and THC. Everyone knows THC, it's the most popular cannabinoid. Cannabinoid is a chemical compound that's found in cannabis. THC is what gets you high, gives you psychoactive effects. It binds to what's called your CB1 receptor. We all have what's called the endocannabinoid system in our body. THC fits perfectly with that CB1 receptor, and that's what's going to get you high, give you that feeling of the psychoactive effects. CBD, on the other hand, does not fit into the CB1 receptor, and so it won't get you high. And hemp got legalized federally in 2018, and it has to have under 0.3% THC. So there might be a very trace amount of THC in the hemp or the flower that you find, but it's not going to be enough to get you high. We encourage CBD for patients who are looking for pain relief, muscle inflammation, anxiety. It's also good for epilepsy as well, can help with seizures. So CBD is very good for a lot of different things, but it's also great paired with THC. And there actually is a strain available on the market right now, similar to the Z7 Dr. Nickel was describing earlier. It's called Key Lime Remedy from Delta, and it has about 8% THC and about 11% CBD. So it's really close to a 1-to-1 ratio, and if you want just a flower by itself that gives you that 1-to-1, look for Key Lime Remedy. We actually do have it out at Natural Relief in Sherwood right now if you'd like to come get some. Close at 7 tonight.
I learned something new today. We got a new Z7 on the block. That's great to hear. So once again, the highest THC, I know you hear that all the time at the dispensaries, is not the most important thing that should be asked. Now, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I was just saying, used incorrectly, it's actually quite dangerous. As far as when you use THC by itself, or your THC ratio to CBD is off, what happens is you can actually cause a psychosis. THC causes memory impairment, we know this. So what happens is when you're using too much THC, you're actually knocking your endocannabinoid system back out of balance, and this is the opposite of what we're trying to do. So when you take CBD and you take your THC and you have it in proper ratios, this is going to actually balance your endocannabinoid system, causing homeostasis within your body so you can actually start to heal. This is the importance of balancing it together. CBD by itself is a wonderful medication that can do a lot of things. THC is also very well together, but taken together, they're a better drug. They work better together in your system. And so it's very important to understand that. So that's just what I wanted to say. Exactly, thank you.
Well, and you know, as far as, you know, anxiety, psychosis, one of the things when we keep talking about whole plant being more efficient, I think it was, I can't remember exactly who I'll credit with this, but the cure is in the plant, the corrections for the different side effects, and in fact even some of the cancer-causing effects of consuming, burning cannabis, you know, it does make some things that are carcinogenic. However, other chemicals within the plant fight off the carcinogenic effects, and that's why cannabis is not associated with cancer. And it could be on the mental health side of things, out of my area of course, but perhaps the cure is also within the plant there. So everybody up here is a whole plant person, it sounded like, huh?
Yes.
Is that pretty much how it works? Okay. Now, Nina, what's the biggest issue in CBD? You're the CBD expert up here. What's the biggest problem, your biggest competition in the CBD marketplace?
My biggest competition is the gas station. No, seriously. Because these companies, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, have y'all ever been in there and get down their food section? They have things that imply that it's CBD, hemp bath bomb, you know, all of that, and maybe it might have hemp seed oil in it, maybe. Even my mother's like, oh, well, I can get a bath bomb at TJ Maxx for $3 that has hemp in it, Dina. And I'm like, yeah, but Mom, that's not what we're after here, right? So people do come to us and they're like, well, I've tried CBD before, it didn't work. I'm like, where'd you get it? Which is also very important to us as a company, and it's important to us as an industry. People are not going to understand the benefits of these things, especially on the CBD side. It's a completely different animal in terms of regulation. And what we're really held to, the checks and balances. Do people come in and check out our stuff to make sure it is what we say it is? Not really. So we as a company advocate for our, what you would expect to be our traditional competitors. We embrace them and advocate them if they do actually produce true quality products, because we need them to have stuff that actually works and does not hurt the patients, does not have toxins in it. So it's kind of, I mean, I know I went around the block for the answer, but really that's the true competition, is the fake stuff out there. And it's important, y'all have seen that commercial, if you don't hear it, get it somewhere. It's like that though, please make sure that the companies that you deal with do have certificate of analysis, do have what they say, and are reputable, and the best way to find that out is actually through word of mouth. Yeah.
So one of our biggest sellers that we used to have was CBD flower, lab tested, proven CBD flower. So we do have strains that are 1-to-1, but they're very rare in the marketplace. They're hard to come by, and they can kind of be costly on occasion. I was told about 6 months ago, because Arkansas doesn't observe the latest version of the Farm Bill, that we can't have CBD flower. And a lot of my patients were finding great relief by mixing THC flower with CBD flower. It had more of a pain relieving effect, and it was able for them to stretch their THC flower longer and have greater pain relief over a longer period of time. And so I'm hoping that we'll get to a point where CBD flower will be available on the marketplace again, so our patients can get that relief that's kind of missing in the marketplace right now.
Anybody else want to talk about CBD flower? We have a question.
What does the Farm Bill have to do with the rules against selling flower in Arkansas?
So Arkansas observes the previous version of the Farm Bill is what I was told by state regulators, and that's the one that is the Farm Bill that opened up CBD, the CBD marketplace. And because we observe the older version, I've been told that we can only sell finished product CBD. So only CBD products that have been processed thoroughly. Like a gummy or ointment, tincture, things of those nature, but not the flower itself. I was just told by government agents that I didn't get a clear answer, but it's because that gentleman may have the answer.
Clarification, hemp's regulated by the Arkansas State Department of Agriculture. Their enforcement division is the plant board. If you call the state government, the plant board is in disarray right now. The hemp program is a research program that has to be certified by the USDA. Because our hemp program isn't certified by the USDA, we're also in the 2014 Farm Bill. Once our hemp program is approved by the USDA, we'll be over to the new Farm Bill, but in the twain it affects CBD regulations. My understanding is the smokable flower is just a policy. What I was told by the ABC is that there's not confidence in hemp and in parallel process, and since hemp isn't regulated to the extent that medical marijuana is regulated, they don't want patients to become confused by going to the dispensary and expecting that every single smokable product has gone through the exact same analysis. And it's from him, he said, to avoid patient confusion, we're going to keep hemp flower out of the dispensaries, and then his other opinions that will keep it unavailable for, over-the-counter sales.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and that's my understanding of the ABC's position as well. And in the regulations for hemp farmers, something that's been really unfair to Arkansan hemp growers is that they are unable to sell their flower to people in the state. However, the law allowed for flower grown outside of Arkansas to be imported here and sold, which doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. But as far as the comment on the ABC's position, as far as ensuring that whatever's sold at a dispensary is quality and safe for the patients, that the hemp CBD flower is not regulated like medical marijuana in Arkansas is, as far as the stringent testing that we have to go through. I mean, we test for heavy metals, for pesticides, and a whole list of other things, but those are really the two most important things that you need to be concerned about. And the hemp that you might have access to has not necessarily undergone those same tests, and those can be very harmful for you when ingested, especially if you already have a pre-existing condition.
So hemp flower hopefully coming back to the state at some point in time. That was my understanding too. That there's a problem, there's a little hole in the regulations where things are right now when they wanted to have two classes of product. I hope they get it figured out soon, because I really think it is a detriment to the patients of the state. I've seen a couple patients suffer because of that kind of thing. Dr. Peck, can you use CBD on animals? Does it help them at all? We see these different products. Does it help animals or not?
Actually, it really does. And to go back to what you were saying, there's a definite difference when I ask somebody, well, I'm going to try some CBD on your arthritic dog or your anxietis dog. Oh no, we've already tried it. It didn't work. I said, oh really? Where'd you get it? Well, at the 7-Eleven, or or at the truck stop, JJ's truck stop out by Malvern. Really? Okay, they're not regulated, and it's hard to educate people that don't want to be educated. People need to stop just a minute and look and do some research on their own. I mean, I think American is just too used to being spoon-fed everything, and I run into that brick wall all the time. I'm trying to help you out, I'm trying to help your pet and help your pet feel better, because it does make a dog, cat, horse, goats, Melissa, where are you? There you are. She can testify. Mammals all have the receptors that are going to use those, and I have not used any THC in a dog or an animal, but I feel exactly what you say. It's going to have a synergistic effect, and it's going to get them a whole lot more bang for their buck if you would be obliged that. But we can't use THC in animals. They're trying to do more research studies on it right now. I was at a conference this summer, and the University of Alabama is spearheading there was a Ptsd pharmacologist veterinarian that's spearheading, trying to get more veterinary schools to do research on CBD and marijuana in treating animals. Not just for anxieties and arthritis, but to treat medical conditions, to treat cancer and disease processes, which is what my biggest interest. I really feel in my heart of hearts that this plant's been around for eons and was not illegal until our lifetime, which I found strange. But I think there are healing benefits in this plant far beyond the scope. Oh, I'm just going to feel better today. I don't want to hurt, or dadgum, this job's stressing me out. I think there's healing for disease process, and that's where my focus is going a lot more with it. Yes, it works. We use it routinely. We sell Endocanine from from Buffalo. I'm sorry. I was looking at Dina because we buy a lot of stuff from them, but and it works. And I know it's in milligrams, and if it says it's 300 milligrams per mil, it's 300 milligrams per mil. It's not 2. It's not 500, and it's the same every time they dose it, which is consistency is the most important thing when you're trying to fight and treat something, especially an animal. They can't tell you, hey, I'm feeling a lot better. Yeah, you can see the animal's feeling a lot better. Are you feeling too good? Is that too much or is it not enough? And animals are funny because think about it, in nature, animals just, when they hurt, they just don't go to the medicine cabinet and open up. I'm going to take a couple of BC and I'm going to feel better. They don't have that capability. So when you give them something that's going to help them, a little bit goes a really long way because they're not used to having that. Unless it's some of the herbivores and stuff that naturally will graze on it and find it because that's just how they're ingrained in their brains. But anyway, I've gone way too long. I'm sorry. I digress. I got on a rant. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you, as far as dosing goes in animals, how do you usually approach that? Is it similar to humans? I mean, I know a lot of drugs act differently in your particular set of patients compared to mine, and you can't just cross it over. How do you do something as far as dosing with animals?
Well, typically we start out low, about 2 milligrams per 10 pounds of body weight. And you can always go up, and it's one of these deals. And here again, the CBD, I have a lot of my clientele that do recreational cannabinoids, and a lot of times their pets will get carried away and eat what's on the counter, be it brownies or cookies or whatever it is, butters or whatever, and I see it fairly routinely. And as far as a toxic dose, that's part of why this pharmacologist is wanting to do these studies, because we don't know of a toxic dose. I don't think it would kill them. I really don't. I think they're going to pass out before they can eat too much of it to harm themselves. That said, I saw a little dog, a little weenie dog that had a half a pan of brownies. I mean, you're talking about a 5 kilogram dog ingesting no telling how much THC. And so, you know, by the time I got the dog got to me, she was like kicking it. She was like in la la land. So we emptied her stomach and gave her activated charcoal, and you know, just to try and slow the process down. But the guy said, well, what should I look for? I said, well, nothing. She's probably going to sleep for 2 days or a day, and then when she wakes up, you better have a big bowl of kibble because she's going to be hungry. But we start low on the CBD, usually 2 to 5 milligrams per 10 pounds, and go up. And I tell people it's a stepwise process. If you're not seeing results in 12 hours, give them some more, double that dose. But go in increments of 2 to 5, and don't just say, okay, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40. It doesn't work that way. It's keeping the small milligram strengths.
Well, that's kind of how I do it with people, low and slow.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do much.
Well, everybody's system's different. I mean, they don't the same way. I mean, I have two genetic matched horses. Will have the same genetic makeup. I can give one horse the same, I give both the same drug, same amount. One horse will go down on the ground, one horse like, what? Are you going to give me anything? You know, it's like it doesn't touch them. So they're all different. Kind of like we are. We're all different. So that's why it's just safe to go low and slow. I'm going to steal that from you. Low and slow. Low and slow.
Low and slow, I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, probably not going to be available to horse racing anytime soon, I guess, is it?
No, I doubt it.
Probably not permitted in that. So, Robert, as far as the regulations that are coming out, I know the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association have been trying to make some progress as far as loosening up on some of the regulations so that the patients get information, as you were kind of mentioning earlier. I'd like to kind of go over that again on why for instance, Brandon mentioned to me that actually getting the information on cannabinoids and terpenes is a bit difficult because of advertising restrictions. What's the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association doing to try to improve the plight for patients in the state, sir?
Thank you, Doc. Yesterday, well, I guess let me start off by saying it's kind of crazy, but me sitting up here is kind of a gray area as if I'm able to speak to y'all as patients. So I have my ACIA hat on. I do not have my natural state hat on. Any questions about products can be answered by some of the dispensaries. But they've created it pretty difficult for us to get feedback as to what products are working for our patients and the disease states that they have, you know, which makes it more difficult for us to continue to innovate and find more effective products. That being said, Dorley spoke with us yesterday here at Industry Day and admitted that the rules that were put in place prior to there being a program here, and admitted that there are some issues with those rules. At the ACIA, we work very closely with Dorley, with the ABC, as well as the Department of Health, and we are working to revise some of those rules. The advertising rules are one of the very few things that the ABC or Department of Health does not have the ability to change. They were actually codified into law by our legislators that are not so pro-medical cannabis session before last. So that's something that we're going to have to change in the legislature here in 23. However, there is some interpretation of those regulations that can be lightened up. Thursday, I testified before the Arkansas legislature's joint subcommittee on the oversight of medical marijuana. They asked me what my biggest hang-up at the program is, and I told them the fact that I can't educate patients about the types of products that are out there and what they're best used for. And that was shocking for them to know. And so I'm hoping now that this committee has been formed, that we're actually going to be able to educate our legislators a little bit more and help to continue to improve those regulations.
That might be why tinctures aren't so popular.
And anytime I have a cultivator that comes by, or I talk to a cultivator on the phone, they are dying for this information. What is going to work? How can we innovate the program more? They just want patient feedback. Simple things. They want to educate patients. But the state makes it so difficult to do that from their standpoint. We're a little more open since we have direct interaction with the patients. But it's kind of ridiculous to not be able to get that feedback or provide informational data to the patients directly. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that cultivators have.
I would agree with everything Robert and Jared just said there. With the current situation as it is, I would encourage you, if you do want to pass something along to one of the cultivators, to get with your bud tender, or what we call wellness consultant. If there's a certain strain that you're missing, there's a lot of people who complain that they found a strain that really works for them and they can't find it. Tell your bud tender that. They can pass it along to the manager of the dispensary or whoever is in contact with the cultivator, and then that's your pipeline to talking to the cultivator, is the people who work at the dispensaries. So if you have feedback, give it to them, and then they can give it back to the cultivators.
Any questions there now? They covered that all right for you guys? Okay. Now, Dina, recently the state of Arkansas made Delta H THC illegal. Unfortunately, I found it of great utility in using in much of my patients. And actually, one of your products, the trifecta, I believe it was very useful in my patients. Do you foresee Delta 8 coming back in the future, and do you see it as having a place in your particular product line and actually in that of most patients' treatment wheelhouses?
Were any of you here yesterday when the question about Delta 8 was asked? And the answer was, I'll talk to you later, not here.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's this huge hot potato. We did carry it for a short amount of time, and we did get some very great results from it. And I don't know if Erin's in here. She and I were talking about this earlier. You know, I could argue both sides of the argument. Delta 8 does have some psychoactive aspects to it, and I don't know if you've listened to us, but the hemp CBD side of the house is not as regulated as the medical marijuana side of the house, and some of us may say that's overregulated and this one's underregulated, but think about it, if you do have something that is that intoxicating or could be, and it's also not regulated in terms of ensuring it is what you say it is in the bottle, then you see it is a really mixed bag about how do you actually handle that within the state of Arkansas. I have no idea. I'm not like Robert in front of all of them and talking to them. I don't know, but I sit around and think about it. You know, it's a two-edged sword there, and there's pros and cons to both sides. So I did not give. Ooh, I should be a politician. I gave you a roundabout answer, didn't I? No, but really, that's, you know, I love that cannabinoid. I do. I love it. But at the same time, yeah, I can understand why it needs to be thought through, especially in terms of people that are manufacturing it.
And I think Delta 8 should, from a cultivator standpoint and from a dispensary standpoint, be available as long as it's been lab tested. I was introduced to Delta 8 about a month and a half before I had to stop selling it. It was amazing to me because I did not get any paranoia whatsoever. I occasionally get nauseous, and it helped better than Delta 9, in my opinion. I would love to see a 1-to-1 Delta 9 to Delta 8 THC vape cartridge, distillate cartridge. Pure distilled product that's been lab tested for pesticides, held to the same standard as Delta 9 to assure that it's a pure product. But I do think there's, it's something that patients really need. I know Oklahoma has it. The regulations aren't. Yeah, true. But I do think there's some medical benefits to it, and I think cultivators, at the very least, should be allowed to create products with it that's going to help all patients in Arkansas.
So kind of following up on that and a little bit on the previous question as far as regulation is concerned, I agree we've seen some very good health benefits of Delta-8 when combined with other cannabinoids. But from a regulatory landscape, it is sold in gas stations in 100 milligram gummies and it's available to kids. And kids should, although the milligrams for our medical marijuana program per serving need to be raised, and that's one of the things that we're working to accomplish in the 23 legislative session, it does not need to be available to children sold through a gas station. So I agree that it's something that should be legal here to sell for patients that need it. It's one of the few times that I would actually lobby for increased regulation.
I would agree with all that, and the good news is Steep Hill, the lab, Brandon Thornton who spoke earlier, they do test for Delta-8, so they're set up, ready to go. I do think Delta-8 will come back. There's also Delta-10 now, and so it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole where they banned Delta-8, and now we have Delta-10 that's available, and Delta-10, I've heard, haven't tried it, but I've heard it's much more psychoactive than Delta-9. So that's probably the next thing they're going to ban once you start seeing it out in gas stations or tobacco stores.
Well, I'm kind of optimistic Delta can come back too. The DA always tries to say, oh, it's a synthetic drug since it's made from CBD, but we all know it's a naturally occurring phytocannabinoid, so they can't play that game with us. We're not falling for that. Cliff, does the endocannabinoid system in dogs and cats and everything else, it does differ, but are we going to try to treat the same kind of diseases in our pet friends as we do in human beings?
Yeah, I am, and I think with the research that they're starting, that's going to be one of their, because I talked to the lady about it afterwards, it's not just, like I said, for osteoarthritis cases and anxiety cases, but treating disease like cancer is the main one. And specifically, when we talked about was osteosarcoma bone cancer, which is a debilitating thing, and once they have it, once we find osteosarcoma in a dog, the most I've ever seen one live is 6 months. I mean, it's just, it seems like once that they show the owner that they're hurting, it's like they've probably been hurting for a lot longer period of time, and we just don't know it. But I just feel that there's some, I don't know, I think that there's going to be some benefits at slowing the neoplasia or the cancerogenic effect of the cell metastasizing throughout the whole body, and I think that the cannabinoids are going to do that. I really do, but you'll just have time will have to tell. But I mean, I've piddled with, I've got some cases that I work on as just kind of a pro bono deal. I said, look, try this and let me know if it works, and I don't charge them for it. And then they give me back feedback saying I'm not seeing anything, or the next time they come in, we'll measure the lesion, if it's a skin type tumor, or if it's something that you can feel under the skin. But here again, it kind of goes, you know, they can't talk, we've just got to go by what we see and feel. So, but yes, I think that that's on the forefront. I really do in the next 3 years anyway. So, yeah.
I'm going to say I've used CBD on some of my patients, a lot of times treating inflammation and such, but also for anxiety and depression, taking advantage of how it works on the serotonergic and GABA systems of the brain. As I had some of my patients that I've been treating for underlying kind of anxiety disorders as well as inflammation, when I started using CBG on these patients, of course their inflammation did get better. Something I had not anticipated though was how much better a lot of my PTSD patients seemed to find their anxiety levels when we started them on CBG. And I don't have many, but about a half a dozen bipolar patients, and all of them have said how it's been a little bit of a mood stabilizer on them. A little outside of my wheelhouse. I was wondering if you had any impressions on that as far as using it in those conditions.
That's kind of loaded.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to load you, but I'm interested in what you have to say because I know a lot of this.
Well, I do. I deal with a lot of patients who have PTSD and anxiety, and We actually do not really have a CBG that we can carry. We've tried a cannabinoid that we purchased out of state to sell, and it worked, but I think that there wasn't enough people who really understood it. So for myself, for PTSD and for anxiety, when I'm treating my patients, I really have to go to CBD with lower ends of THC. And we know now that anxiety is triggered by a cell in your hippocampus, and they're working really, really hard to try to find a medication that will work for that. They do know that CBD will actually bind to this specific cell and it stops your anxiety. As far as PTSD, that's a little bit different because we're no longer in the hippocampus, even though it's memory forming. This is a different part of the memory that's being affected for PTSD, and so dosing for that is very, very difficult. And CBG in the past, when we've used it, I actually didn't get a whole lot of success, only because I think we didn't understand the correct dosing. And so we were getting more anxiety, we were getting palpitations, and we were, not having good outcomes with it. So when we went back to just the higher doses of THC with a low dose of CBD for our PTSD patients, that seemed to work well because, of course, we were blocking the memory at that time. But we're still working on it. But yeah, for right now, it's a combination of CBD and THC based on the symptoms that we're working on, not the actual diagnosis. So.
And York, have you used much of this in schizophrenic patients? Do you see many of those?
Yes, I actually do see quite a few schizophrenic patients, and with those, we are very, very cautious because we don't want to exacerbate anything by using too high of a THC. So again, we go with a low dose THC, or we try to use a THCA when available, and a CBD on a higher dose. And so that just works better for them.
No, it was interesting. What you had to say about it? Now for my dispensary gentleman up here, what do you see as your biggest growth area? I know it's kind of a business question, but as far as for people knowing, what are people using a lot of at the dispensaries? We heard tincture's not so popular like they should be. What's going on your level, gentlemen? What are you seeing?
So we look at this every week about what percentage of our sales are flower, gummies, or extracts, and every week, pretty much consistently since we've opened, flower is consistently about 70% of our sales. A lot of people in Arkansas, you can even look around the room and just kind of see the average age of the patients in Arkansas. People have been smoking flower for a long time, and they like it. They're set in their ways, it works for them. They're not real open to trying other consumption methods. The second most popular consumption method is the cartridges, which is close to 10% of our sales. And I think that's probably due to the convenience factor. It's very discreet, it's fast. A lot of people find ways to use them in public, which they like, which I would not encourage. It's not legal, but we know people do that. And then there's the gummies too. The gummies are very popular because we process them differently through our liver. And a lot of people find relief from the gummies for muscle pain or helping with insomnia, helping them go to sleep. So to answer the question, I would say the edibles are probably the fastest growing part of our market. We're starting to see a lot more variety in the edibles. The cultivators do a really good job with different kinds of chocolate bars. There's honey on the market now, infused honey that we just got available just in the past week. There's hard candies, there's lozenges. If you haven't tried edibles, that's typically the next thing that people like to try after they've tried flower. Because a lot of times it tastes really good and you have really nice options there for the edibles.
I'm seeing a lot of growth in, the concentrate market actually. A whole lot of our sales are actually moving towards that. Flour, of course, is the staple. It's the tried and true method for thousands of years, so people are used to it. But I think as people see the benefits of especially a concentrate that has everything, a full spectrum, a raw concentrate, and the convenience of it, and not just vaporization either, not just waxes and cartridges, also RSO. RSO is one of the best forms of medication for cancer patients. I would love to see another ethanol-based RSO for full plant extract RSO made using ethanol, because I think it's one of the most effective forms of extreme pain management. The concentrates are. And for cancer patients who need that high level of THC and cannabinoids to get the effectiveness that they were currently using opioids for, or other pain relievers. So I think there's a lot of growth for the concentrate market, and I think it's just going to keep on growing. The flower market's going to stay consistent, but I think the concentrate market is going to keep on expanding and blowing up.
Anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So going back to RSO, I know I've been harping on this all day. Do you feel like part of the reason there's lower demand for it might be because of the price is so prohibitive?
The question was, is the demand for RSO kind of low because of the prohibitive price?
That's part of it, but if you think about it, edibles, especially in the state of Arkansas, have to be 10 milligrams or less. If you get a 90+% distillate or oral RSO, if you do that calculation, that is, say it's 97% pure, that's 970 milligrams. So you're looking at hundreds of doses in a single syringe, but people don't get that. They're actually getting more bang for their buck with the RSO than with a pack of 10 milligram gummies. And I know Robert up here is pushing the market with the 20 milligrams, which are awesome. It's something that we need to expand on and something that patients truly need. But I think if people actually, I don't think people take the time to do the calculation on how many doses they would get out of RSO, especially a high percentage THC form.
So I would agree with you there. RSO has one of the lowest cost price per milligram of THC on the market right now. And from a regulatory standpoint, to kind of comply with the 10 milligram per serving, cultivators have to, or manufacturers of RSO have to put on the label, do not eat, because the Department of Health regulations say that if you concentrate, you have to say do not eat on it. So yes, but I believe sales for RSO are actually pretty strong, and I think that they're not stronger just because it is so potent. It takes, I mean, a little bit goes a very long way. If you haven't tried it and you do, please be careful and titrate. Like both of these guys will tell you, start low and go slow with that for sure.
Okay, I think we're running up right about 4:15. We're supposed to wrap this up.
You can do one more.
Oh, Cam, can do another. Anybody else with another question for the panel? Good opportunity to chat with these guys. Anybody? Anybody? Anything? There is somebody. I'm sorry. Who has a question? Oh, I guess nobody does. Well, last questions then to just get the lightning round here. Dina, future for CBD, what do you see happening in the market? Do you expect there to be even more competition? Do you think things are going to shake out as the good products come out? And what do you expect to do to differentiate yourself in showing that Buffalo product is a superior product?
Yes.
That was the correct answer.
Absolutely, there is going to be more competition, hands down. It's going to be very interesting as you look at the pharmaceutical companies. When are they going to finally come in and really try to put a foothold into it? I do believe the talk that you gave beforehand, it's one of the things we're just starting to try to do at Buffalo Co., just stepping into it. In terms of differentiating, for us, I think it is going to be about, instead of just here's your daily CBD, instead have it actually specifically formulated with terpenes, or essential oils, etc. A full plant, not just a full hemp marijuana plant, but a full plant approach so that you can, as the consumer, not have to think about it. There's the bottle that's going to help me with X. So I think that's really the direction where the winners are going to end up.
So new product development, I like the way that sounds. Look forward to seeing what Buffalo cranks out. Now, at the dispensary level, sir, what are you gentlemen doing to kind of differentiate yourself from the competition? You know, it's getting hotter and hotter in the state.
We have unlimited $25 eighths now, so that means you can come. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's how, look, guys, we're in Arkansas. People are on a budget. We're excited that we can now offer $200 ounces. We're looking forward to offering $100 ounces someday. The biggest thing you can do to differentiate yourself beyond the price is the experience. We really stress education with our team. Every wellness consultant goes through many different training courses. There's different ones based on terpenes, cannabinoids, and overall training to start with. We do our best to make sure all of our team are equipped to answer all the questions you might have. And if they don't have the answer, they can find somebody who does have the answer for you. So that's the biggest thing that's going to distinguish a dispensary from another one is, number one, price. That's what most people care about. And number two is the experience that the patient has when they get there. If they leave feeling good, they feel like they were treated well, they got the products that they needed, they're most likely going to come back.
So I actually have eighths of shake for $24 out the door, taxes included. I actually have $30 eighth of 22% OG Kush and 24% Crescendo number 11. I'm just kidding. What was the original question again? Sorry, I'm in sales mode. We don't mind. So we just gotta push the market in the right direction, and like he said, Arkansas is one of the lowest cost of living states, so people do need affordable medication. So that's a big differentiating factor, and customer service is everything. You need knowledgeable staff. You need people, like I tell my staff members constantly, you can be having the worst day of your life, but when a patient approaches you, you gotta treat them better than you would wanna be treated. So it's all about customer service, knowledge, and we need to get as much affordable medication to as many patients as possible.
Mental health wise, I always look to you, my expert on this. We're just scratching the surface on using cannabis for this, or do you think it's just about as good as it's going to get with it?
No, I think that cannabis and mental health actually do have a place together, even though we still need a lot of research done on it. I treat a lot of bipolar, schizophrenia. I treat a lot of different mental illnesses, and successfully gotten them off their medications or lowered their medications. But it's that fine line of finding not the disease that I'm treating, but your overall symptoms, how your cannabinoid system or endocannabinoid system is actually functioning. Where are you at? And so I take in a lot of that information. We put a plan together so I can decide exactly what medication you need, what endocannabinoids, what terpenes, to work with whatever symptom you're working with. So if it's bipolar manic versus bipolar depressive, we've got totally different, things that we're going to be working with there. And by the way, Plant Family Therapeutics does have $25 eighths and a nurse on staff. Thank you very much.
Oh, we love our industry people. Speaking of which, Natural State Medicinals, Robert, I know you're wearing multiple hats today, but NSM has been on really the cutting edge of doing a lot of research and new product development, and I am impressed that a lot of it is oriented towards patients. What can we look forward to seeing from NSM in the future, if there's anything at all you can share with us?
Slippery slope there. And it's so frustrating that I can't really share those things. But I can tell you that we do invest a lot into research and development and product development, and there's a lot into technology. This industry is unique in the sense that a new cotton gin is being invented every month that revolutionizes the industry, and we certainly are early adapters of that technology, and working with our dispensary partners to get feedback on what's working and what's missing from the industry, and we are happy to innovate and create new products, and just be on the lookout. There's some cool things coming.
Smaller bottles for RSO.
What was that?
Smaller bottles for RSO. Sticker shock. $150.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Half grams?
Somebody smaller. People come in and they see I can buy edibles for $25. They're not looking at I'm not getting as much THC. They're looking at the sticker price. People aren't going to do that calculation. They're just coming in to buy their products and they're like, that's $150. I'm not going to buy that.
But this is also where they need good education, and they need to understand the ratio to the dose. Are you taking a half a gummy? Are you taking a full gummy? Are you taking a half a grain of your RSO? Are you taking a full grain of your RSO? Some people can get 80 doses out of your RSO. Is that worth $150 or $120 or whatever you're paying for versus your $10, $30, $40 gummies that you're taking over and over and over again at basically a microscopic dose compared to an RSO if you're treating a cancer. So I think that has a lot to do with it too.
But the problem is, as a consumer, you don't have 80 doses to play with. When you don't know, is this going to work or not, $150 can be a lot of money.
Yeah, people come in and they don't even have
$50.
Right, and so smart there is, again, starting with something like that. Let's find where you're at. Where are you with your endocannabinoid? How far are you in your sickness and your illness? What other medications are you taking? What can I work with? Let's start you off here and see how your body reacts to it. See if we have any side effects. What do I need to counter that? How can I get you to where we need to be? That's what I do.
Right.
That's
But
what needs to be done.
$150 to experiment with it is pretty steep for a lot
It
of people.
is.
And
So that's why we do a little.
He's looking
bit
at sample
first, and when
sizes.
we find out, then we are.
I think tincture shots, there's not a lot of people who know about them, but it's a good starting point. It's kind of a mixture between RSO and a tincture. You can try out a syringe similar to an RSO syringe that will give you multiple doses and take it from there.
Just to piggyback on that, NSM has done a good job on the tincture shots that Jarrett just mentioned. They have two right now. They have their grapeseed oil comes in a 50 milligram shot, and then they have their tincture shot as well in a 50 milligram one. And both of those, you're talking to price. We make those available at our dispensary for $15 each out the door. That's something that's like a sample size. I think most people have $15 to spend. Robert, if you could get a mini RSO shot, like she said, I think we could put it at a price point that patients could try it out, and then they might be interested in buying the bigger dosage once they know the smaller dose worked for them. So I completely agree with what you said there. Thank you.
It'll be on the market.
So look for the sample size RSOs coming soon to a dispensary near you, I think. Any last questions for anybody, or I'm running late as I always do? Yes, ma'am. Something about a cotton gin.
No, absolutely not. And I just meant that technology is advancing so quickly for this new industry, so that on a regular basis, there's a new piece of technology that comes out that revolutionizes the industry.
That's it.
Back the other way. Thank you, everybody on the panel. I hope you enjoyed the information they provided. It's a nice chance to talk to the experts. Here you go, Casey.
Yeah, give a round of applause.